Welcome back to the My Latin Life podcast, your trusted guide to traveling and living in Latin America. My guest today is Joyce Brand. She's the author of Pioneering Prosperity, the Morazán Model for Free Cities. In this episode, we're going to talk about Ciudad Morazan, free cities as a concept, what's going on in Honduras, and we welcome Joyce to the podcast.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're friends with Alex Ugorji, previous podcast guest, friend of the podcast.
Yes, we met in Morazan. I was the first resident and he was an early resident.
So you were the first resident. The CEO guy's name is Matza?
Massimo Massoni.
Massoni.
He's an Italian businessman who's built a conglomerate in Central America. And when he heard about the Zede law, allowing an autonomous city with its own rules, he was excited to invest. He felt he was, to give back to Honduras because he had been there for 20 some years. He has a Honduran wife and 4 children.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of building a city to increase the quality of life for the Honduran workers was something really near to his heart.
And how did it come about that you were the very first resident?
Well, he had learned about the concept of voluntary contractual governance and entrepreneurial communities from our mutual friend, Spencer McCallum. And Spencer introduced us. And when Massimo told me about his vision for Ciudad Morazan, that he wanted to build an entrepreneurial city that would bring prosperity to Honduras, which is, such a poor country, and he had a way to do it that really excited me. So I told him I wanted to be involved. And he said, well, if you move down to Honduras, I'll give you a house and you can experience it and write about it. And so that's how I came to be the first resident. When the first house was completed, I moved in.
Free house.
Yeah.
Cool. And you lived, and actually we should probably back it up and explain a little bit more about what it is for people that don't know, and then we'll get into the book. What is Ciudad Morazan?
Well, it's a ZEDE, which stands for Zone of Employment and Economic Development. That's the Spanish acronym, ZEDE. And it's probably the most autonomous law for a city in the world, perhaps, because a couple of Hondurans decided they wanted to bring prosperity to Honduras, and the way to do it was to create a zone that would attract foreign investment and jobs and economic development, as the name implies. And it took a while to get that law passed, and then it took even longer for the first ZEDEs to be authorized. But Ciudad Morazan was the second ZEDE. It was authorized in 2020, broke ground the end of 2020. First houses were completed in late 2021, which is when I moved in. And it is unique in that the city can create its own civil and commercial laws, commercial regulation, its own currency. It has the right to regulate currency, its own private police force. So it's a very forward facing. You're going to edit this, right?
No, we're just going to keep running. We're going to keep running.
Oh, no.
It's all good. So we'll move on to the book. So you actually wrote a book about this, so you are something of an expert, right? The book is called
Yes,
Pioneering Prosperity. It's
yes,
available on Amazon. It is a straight 5-star rating. So the book did really,
yes.
really well. What inspired you to write the book as the first resident?
Well, that was so. There's a lot of problems in the world now. I think we all know that, and particularly in the United States, there's a lot of people are concerned about some of the things that are happening in the direction the country's going. Like national debt, inflation, things like that, and I think a lot of people are feeling a little hopeless about what can you do. You can't change uh, a whole country, but you can change a smaller jurisdiction. And that's where the concept of free cities comes in. By creating special jurisdictions, special administrative jurisdictions like Morazan, you can make different rules that experiment with different kinds of governance. And people don't know about that. That was my motivation, was realizing that a lot of people are feeling a little hopeless about what can you do to change things. A lot of people are leaving the United States for Latin America for good reasons.
Hmm.
And this, I first thought about writing the book to give people hope that there is a way, there is a solution to the problems by creating jurisdictions like this, where you can see the effect of different rules and regulations on how it um, impacts the economy and the quality of life of the residents and uh, jobs and all of those things that are so important to us. So that was my main motivation, was to give people hope and to let people know that Free Cities is a movement. It is something that's happening right now, that there is actually a place that's proving that the concept works. And that's what Morazan is. It proves that if you provide the environment where people can um, be secure and have opportunities, you can create communities that work. And this is it's only the first of many, I believe. And because it is such a unique, entrepreneurial communities is a very unique idea,
Hmm.
where instead of um, electing representatives who have their own interests, uh, obviously they are incentivized by their own interests, not necessarily by public good or public welfare. Um, a for profit city is totally aligned with the interests of the people who live there, the businesses and workers and, uh, both industrial, commercial, residential tenants, who all their uh, their success creates the success for the owner of the community or the city. And that's what I wanted to let people know about.
And it started as humble beginnings, I'm sure. When you joined, did they even? I know they have like a wall around it now, right? When you joined, did they
Yeah.
even have the wall?
Well, when I first visited, no, they didn't. But the wall was one of the first things that they built, and that was partly. It wasn't. I mean, partly it's for the security, but it's also sort of part of the. It's the boundary, because it is a special jurisdiction with
Hmm.
special, uh, with its own special rules. It has to be have a boundary between the city and the rest of Honduras. But the wall is I mean, it's it provides the kind of security in a very dangerous region, um, that I mean, I should probably back up and say one of the biggest problems in that area of Choloma, it's the industrial hub of Honduras, and
Hmm.
it really is known as one of the most dangerous places. There's gangs that sort of rule things, and the the people that work there, who are a lot of single mothers, work in the textile factories in the area,
Mm.
and they have very hard lives. And it's very dangerous for them. They can't let their children go out unsupervised for fear of they be taken by a gang. They uh, This is probably, one of the worst parts of Honduras. I mean, there's some beautiful areas in Honduras, but the industrial area is very dangerous. And so the wall provides security, and the city provides security, and our private police force provides security because their one job is to protect the life, liberty, and property of the people within the city. And if they don't do their job, it's very easy to fire them, replace them. But more than that, they're part of the community. Our our guards, our security force lives in the community and they're part of the community. So they're not like some authority that's been brought in to just enforce rules. I've always found them to be extremely helpful and always cheerful and um, very different from the experience of interacting with law enforcement in the US.
Hmm. So I
Just
imagine
because,
you saw a lot of changes in the 3.5 years and probably a lot of construction noise. I know
oh,
living in
well,
Latin America, it's just constant like bah, bah, bah.
yeah, a lot of construction. I mean, when I moved in, well, when I first visited, they were still building the wall, they were building some warehouses, and they were just starting to build the houses. And by the time, I mean, even after I moved in, they were still doing so much construction. Now, the construction did stop for a while um, when the current government was elected, because the current government is opposed to anyone that's trying to bring prosperity to Honduras. They don't want and they don't want foreign direct investment. They don't want foreigners coming in and helping the Honduran people, um, which, hard to believe, I guess, but but we have faced just nothing but hostility from the current government. The previous government was corrupt. Everyone knew it was corrupt, but it was the politicians believed that by bringing prosperity, they could stay in power. And that's what uh, allowed the law to be created and the Zedis to start. But then they were voted out, and the current government, the Castro administration, was voted in, and
Hmm.
they have been nothing but hostile. And so they were threatening our manufacturers. We had a bunch of people that were, or several manufacturers that were planning to bring jobs into the city, and the government threatened to expropriate their businesses if they moved into the Zede and took advantage of the our regulations, the Zede regulations. So we had to sort of put construction on pause for a
Hmm.
while waiting to see what they were going to do. But since they didn't do anything for a year or so, no, I mean they created some problems. They didn't keep their promises. They broke the law, but they didn't actually like attack, like try to shut down the city. And so Massimo decided to start building again. And right now we've got we just finished he just finished building 44 new houses, which are just being rented right now. We've got a waiting list of people that want to move in. And
Hmm.
they just started construction on a 4-story apartment building for workers, studio apartments. And so that's coming along. Um, so, it's still, we don't know what's going to happen because the government is still talking about trying to shut down the ZAs. But so far, they haven't actually physically done anything other than just prevent us from taking advantage of things like the customs laws. that were part of the law.
And did I see that there was some pretty recent news just in the past month or two about, I kind of forget, like that they got hostile again or something happened, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, what happened was the universities in Honduras felt threatened because the law allowed the Zetes to build universities, and so they started a court case. And because the people in the court are mostly members of the ruling party, the current government, the they didn't get. Um, I guess the decision was split, so they have to have another, another hearing or whatever. But that was just to say that this one part of the Zete law was unconstitutional, that it was unconstitutional to allow the Zete to build a university, which of course doesn't make any sense, but that's the way, you know, that's sort of like chipping away at the Zete law in an attempt to possibly, um, um, destroy the whole thing. So there is some danger that the government could take more actions against the Zetes, um, but we just have to wait and see. And in the meantime, we're continuing to live a good life and build community. Um, it's it's a wonderful community that uh, the the way that people are so secure, uh, like people can go out at night without worrying. They can let their children. We have a lot of children in Ciudad Morazan, and they can go out and play without supervision because it's so safe.
Hmm.
I can make a trip to the U.S. and leave my door unlocked. I mean, it's extremely safe, and the people are very friendly. About 98% of the residents are Honduran. Um, Alex and I are about the only expats that are living there. The rest are Honduran, and
Really?
it's a great
There's
community.
that few expats?
Yeah, we have a few digital nomads who come and go. I mean,
Hmm.
obviously, digital nomads, that's what they do is they come, they don't, they come and go. Um,
Hmm.
and there's people, uh, I guess there's like three sort of permanent resident expat permanent residents in Ciudad Morazan right now, and then there's two or three digital nomads who are coming and going. But uh, at the moment, but we've had more, and we have a lot of visitors. But most of the residents are Honduran, and are the vast majority, 90, yeah, really, I think 98% probably. Um, so it was designed to give them a better quality of life, but it has advantages for expats and digital nomads. Um, Alex has a website called Bootstrap City,
Hmm.
bootstrap.city, which explains the advantages of uh, even if you don't live there, you can start a business there, you can incorporate and register a business there with very much better regulations. Um, so he's also started some small businesses within the city.
Hmm.
Um, he has uh, a X, formerly Twitter. he posts every Monday. It's called Morazán Monday, where he posts about what's going on in the city.
Hmm.
And that's on. Uh, it's Alex Ugorji on Twitter or X. Um,
Yep.
if people want to follow that, or if they want to know more about starting a business in Morazan, then bootstrap.city is a good website for that. There's also morazan.city, which gives more information about um, the city itself, a little bit more general. It has all of the rules and regulations and norms for the city are on the website. So anyone who's interested in living there can see what they're signing up for. It is voluntary, it's contractual. It's
Mhm.
voluntary in the sense that people live there. There was no one living there when it started. It was totally uninhabited agricultural land. So the people that live there have all come there voluntarily and they've signed a contract with the city. And the beauty of the contract is it's a real contract, it's not a social contract. So people can, uh, if they agree to the rules, um, they sign the contract, and that contract means that if the city doesn't keep its promise and provide the services that it promises, it can be taken to arbitration for damages, which you can't do that with a normal municipality, or
Right.
if you can, the case is going to be heard by a government judge. So that's why that contract is extremely important. Um, I, I wrote the book is it's mostly about free cities in general, the free cities movement, because people don't know about it. But I use Morazan as the example because it is the example that's in existence and operating and working and proving the concept. Even though it's still small, uh, because we were delayed, we should have probably about 1,500 people by now, but we don't because of the hostility of the government. Um, but there's still a possibility that that can turn around. There's going to be an election next year. Who knows what will happen? So we're, um, for me, the most important thing was the model, um, the fact that it's working. But my book is about how that model works so that other people can build cities like that around the world. That
Hmm.
we can take that model, people can take that model and apply it to pretty much anywhere in the world where they can get some autonomy from a host government that is looking for prosperity, that is looking to attract the kind of growth that you find in places like Hong Kong and Shenzhen and Dubai,
Uh-huh.
Singapore. That sort of,
So I'm down to start my own city. So maybe you could help me kind of like mentally walk through what this is going to look like as an expert yourself. So I'd like to be the next Simon Bolivar, and we'll start some cities, we'll start some countries. Um, I kind of get a lot of the how the model itself would work, and um, the taxes pay for the this and that, and I've listened to interviews with the founder. um, one thing I don't get is like if you're still completely beholden to the country that you're in, the UN recognized country, you're so beholden to that relationship, and it's a huge risk because as those governments change, maybe it's one political party this year and then it's another political party next year, and then you've built all this stuff and they can like basically take it away from you. It's how do you sort of wrestle with that?
yeah, the reason, I mean, considering how hostile the current Honduran government is to the Zetis, the fact that they haven't taken it away is due to all the guarantees that were written into the law allowing the autonomy. Now, yeah, obviously the government has the men with the guns and they could, I mean, they have broken the law, they've broken the law, their own law, to create problems for the ZAs. but they haven't been able to shut them down entirely because of the legal guarantees that were written in international treaties. Um, the uh, the Honduran people, they, I, I think people in Latin America tend to be a lot more skeptical of government promises than people in, say, the U.S. Um, that the government will say, "Oh, the Honduran people are so opposed to the Zetes," but that's not true. The fact is, the Honduran, I mean, we have a waiting list for people who'd like to live there. Um, the Honduran people know not, not to really trust what the government says. So that hostility of the government hasn't necessarily affected the attitude of the average Honduran because they don't necessarily believe it. Um, so it's a good question because depending on uh, how hostile the government is, how willing they are to break their own laws, I mean, it does. You do have to look for a country where there's a certain amount of stability, where you can get the kinds of guarantees that will prevent or at least lessen the possibility of another government coming in and trying to change everything. Um, that was one of the things that the people, the Hondurans who passed the law, were concerned about that, obviously, and that's why they did all of these uh, uh, international treaties and things. It hasn't been totally successful in that sense, so it is a concern. But I think as more and more places, the fact that this is the first place, the Honduran Zete law is the most advanced in the world. And I think as more places manage to get these kinds of uh, zones authorized, there'll be less danger from something like a hostile government taking over, a hostile party taking over. Um, I'm I'm in the book. I'm not like trying to persuade people to move into Morazan or any of the other few um, private cities that are in existence, but to see it as a future possibility. And there are things happening. There are negotiations being done with different governments. When we get more cities built, I think it will be a movement that will change the world. I mean, really, when people have a chance to move to some place that's better, that where they can be more free and live the life they want, and especially entrepreneurs and investors who want to build, who want to solve problems. Uh, I firmly believe it's going to happen. And yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Yeah, it's definitely a partnership, and I know there are sort of thousands of free zones and SEZs and stuff around the world.
yeah,
A lot of them are more sort of government run. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, there's a lot of different business models within this world.
Exactly. And the special economic zones are sort of the beginning that a special administrative zone like Morazan is sort of the next step after the special economic zones. I mean, they're mostly like business parks, or you know, not many of them have residents. Um, the the big zones like Shenzhen was the special economic zone, uh, and certainly that's a hostile government as far as hostile to the idea of freedom, because I mean, obviously everyone's subservient to the Communist Party in China. But that has shown, even Shenzhen has shown, um, I don't know if we want to, yeah. This is probably not too deep in the weeds to get into, but they have areas in Shenzhen where the owners have built urban villages within the city and sort of taken advantage of the special economic zone to build these more almost entrepreneurial governance institutions. And we can see that there is, even in the US, where the US government's not about to give that kind of autonomy to any area in the US, but there are intentional communities that are sort of de facto autonomous, that are able to take some of the concepts from the model. Um,
This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Crema Social. Crema Social is like TikTok for international dating. It's an app you can download right now on your phone, and 3 out of 4 people on Crema are single women. The app was founded in Colombia, so unsurprisingly, there are a lot of Latinas on the app, by the way. So, how does it work? Crema Social is a social meal experience where you invite a hot girl for a lunch date via video call and food delivery. New concept, so you'll have to try it out for yourself, but this is probably the best way to meet Latinas before you visit the country. So if you're in Latin America or planning to visit Latin America, download Crema Social now and start getting dates right away. There will be a link in the description to download, or just search Crema Social on your favorite app store. Have fun, guys. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Bit Refill. Bit Refill is the best way to spend your crypto in Latin America. Purchase gift cards or mobile refills from more than 3,500 brands in 186 countries instantly, safely, and privately. You can also apply the code MyLatinLife at checkout to get 10% back on your first purchase. Go to bitrefill.com for more information. This episode of the My Latin Life podcast is brought to you in part by Job Stacking. If you are a remote or hybrid worker looking to maximize your earning potential, then Rolf Holtze, the author of Job Stacking, guarantees you'll be able to double your income. This is the exact system Rolf has used to take his own income and those of many others beyond $20K a month. So what is job stacking? It's this idea of working multiple remote jobs. You might have heard Rolf, he's worked 5, 7, even 9 remote jobs at the same time before. And by the way, job stacking works equally well for non-technical roles. So no, it's not just for the nerds. So if you're ready to job stack, then book a discovery call with Job Stacking and see how they can double your income in just 9 weeks. In the show notes in the description, there will be a link where you can book a call directly on the Calendly of Job Stacking and be talking with them as early as tomorrow about how to double your income as quickly as possible.
to improve the lives of the people that live there. And
Yeah.
that's really what the book is about. Why we have the problems we do, why government doesn't work the way we expect it to, and what can be done to make it better. Even if we can't get the exact model where it's really got the full autonomy, there are things that you can build that will um, increase the freedom and the uh, business climate, um, things like that, allowing people to trade. Um, so the book is partly, I mean, it's about Morazan, but it's also about other free cities and partially free cities and examples that we can follow. Um, and partly about the concepts and how you can take those concepts and build on them.
Mm-hmm. And have you been to Prospera?
Oh yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure.
Alex goes a lot.
And I just saw they built like a huge building in Prospero, like a full kind of
Duna residence. Yeah.
Duna residence. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the tallest building on the island. And yeah, it's really lovely. They're doing a lot more tech. Morazan is the market, the target market
It's the
is the industrial
locals.
area and jobs.
It's,
And
it's like Morzan's for the locals, where Prospera is more for like international people.
yes, exactly. And Prosper is more for, you know, high tech type solutions, um, biotech, fintech. They're doing a lot of cutting edge things, longevity studies, just a lot of very uh, exciting things. I mean, if somebody said I want to live in Honduras and take advantage of the Zetes, I would recommend Prospera because it's more what Americans are used to in terms of um, amenities and things like that. And it's a very safe place on the island. It doesn't have, it's not as safe as Morazan, but it's uh, compared to the rest of Honduras, it's very safe. And um, they are doing exciting things. I do talk about Prospero a lot in the book because they're, like to me the second the second best model. um, Free cities can follow a lot of different governance models and serve a lot of different target markets. So that's one of the beauties of it is being able to experiment with these different things. Now, personally, I think the entrepreneurial, where the land is owned by one entity and the contract is with that one entity, and um, I think that's a better governance model. Um, it it saves people from fighting for control of the the government that makes the rules. Because you go in there, the rules can't be changed on you. It's a contract, and when you get political, you get all of these. Instead of people being able to live their lives, follow their passions, just discover what they like to do, the way they want to serve their fellow man, what kind of business they want to be in, what kind of work they want to do. Um, you have to spend so much time worrying about politics. How are the rules? If I don't vote, somebody's going to change the rules on me and it's going to be worse. I mean, that kind of mindset really takes a lot away from your life, from the way that you could live your best life. And part of what I like about Latin America is that there is more of a relaxed, uh, I mean, this is such a generalization, but uh, people don't seem to fight as much about politics in Latin America as they do in the US, for instance. Now, I may be mistaken about that, but it seems like there's more of a skepticism about it. And so um, people are more relaxed in looking for their own, doing their own thing. Does that make sense to you, or has that been your experience?
It does make sense. I have some noise here. I think there's like some truck filling gas or something. So if it sounds weird on my audio, that's what that is. I know I really like this model, and obviously we need something. Government's so broken, which is why we wanted to have you on to explore these new models. I wanted to just ask, some kind of fun questions with the time we have left. Um, your book is really well put together on Amazon. How was that process? Like your cover is really good. Did you get it off Upwork or something, or who put together that cover for you?
Oh, well, actually, strangely enough, Chat GPT suggested that cover. I described what I wanted, And that was the first design they came up with. And then I asked them for more designs, and none of them were anywhere close. But that design, I did have a graphic designer sort of recreate it. But that's pretty much that. The cover is pretty much what I got from the design from ChatGPT. Oh, that's right, we're not on camera.
Oh, but you
uh,
got the book in physical. There you go.
I've got the book, I've got the physical book, and um, I did get some help in publishing it on Amazon. And uh, I'm also uh, promoting it, and for people that are interested in more about the model, um, I have a website called morazanmodel.com, which I'm still in the process of building, but um, we have a little bit so far. But it's more for people that want to follow the model and see what's happening, and to stay update not only on what's happening with Morazan, but with the model in general. Um, there's other information, other books that cover, like Free Private Cities by Tita Skebbel, or Entrepreneurial Communities by Calvin Duke, that talk about the model. And I'm trying to bring together all of the information about this, about free cities in general, and specifically this model, for people that would like to subscribe and keep up to date on it. Um,
Hmm. And has did the book lead to a lot of cool experiences, speaking opportunities, and so forth?
yeah, I mean, it was just published in June, and I am getting people interested. A few podcasts and more people that are interested in hearing more about it. I've spoke at a couple of conferences, and so I expect that to continue and grow. Uh,
Nice. And can we expect a follow up book anytime?
um, Probably at some point. Yes. Uh, I'm. Um I don't know exactly when or what, but I intend to keep working in this area and spreading the message about free cities, and specifically the entrepreneurial community model. The uh, Running a city as a business is the way to make sure that the customers, that the people who live there, or who rent the businesses, they're not citizens, they're customers. That is such a big difference. And that's a lot of what I talk about in the book, is how that makes a difference. That when when people are customers rather than citizens, instead of having the responsibility of having to figure out all of the issues and vote on them and all that, they get to choose which rules they want to live under, and be secure in knowing that those rules aren't going to be changed on them. And that makes them customers who are king. Customers are king. They are the ones who determine what they get by what they are willing to pay for. And paying for Morazan, I mean, it's so inexpensive because you don't have all that government waste. Um, the public goods, the things that services we want from government, can be provided so much less expensively if you don't have all that government bureaucracy on top of it. And that's what one of the things we're proving in Morazan.
Hmm. Yeah, we talk about this too. It's kind of those sovereign individual concepts, like
Yes,
treat your government like a subscription service, right?
exactly. That's what it should be. It should be providing security, infrastructure, a legal structure. That's all you really need from a government. Everything else, uh, you get. you get it on the free market. And you can get those things on the free market if you have entrepreneurial governance, a small enough jurisdiction where you can uh, choose between jurisdictions, they compete with each other, and you can leave if you don't like it. So
Are
that's
there
the main
other
message.
Yeah. Are there other new jurisdictions or free cities that you're excited about? I mean, have you? I know you're in some of these Telegram groups and stuff.
Yes.
Which ones are you seeing that you're excited about?
Well, I did want to say the Free Cities Foundation has information continually being updated as new projects are started. So that's a really good source of information about all of the Free Cities projects that are being developed around the world. And that's uh, free-cities.org. And there are places, all kinds of different things being built or being started, like the island of Sark in the
Hmm.
English Channel is an exciting new project. There's uh, the Catawba Digital Economic Zone in North
Hmm.
Carolina.
Yep, we have a
Uh,
podcast with them.
there's uh, gee, Freedom is a uh, new project building like communities in nature. I think they're building in Portugal right now
Hmm.
and hope to expand. Um, a city reclaiming a village in Spain. I mean, there's a lot of things going on that you can learn about from the Free Cities Foundation. So that's a really great source of information.
What's Freedom in Spain? How do you spell that one?
Oh, Freedom, FREE apostrophe THM. Um,
THM or THOM? Freedom,
T, the
Portugal. Freedom,
THM,
Portugal.
Freedom.
Freedom,
Yeah,
decentralized, sustainable towns, Portugal and Spain.
yeah,
Okay, I didn't know about this one. I'm gonna have to hit these guys up, see if we can try to get them on the podcast.
yeah. That they would be interesting to talk to. Yes.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I like this one. I like this one. Thank you. That's a good tip. I'm gonna look into that one. See if we can get these guys on the pod. Really, I should go through
Cool.
the whole like Free Cities directory and just be like, I haven't had those guys on yet.
Yeah.
Haven't had those guys on yet.
Yes, definitely. There is. I think there's something like 14 projects right now listed on the site,
Mhm.
and I mean they're all. Um, the Zetes are the most autonomous of any place, legally autonomous, but there's all kinds of things being done that I think people would find, really promising and interesting, and a, a way forward for the future. So,
What do you miss about Honduras now that you're spending a bit more time in Florida? Do you
oh,
miss the fruit? You miss the mosquitoes?
um,
Uh,
the community, uh, yeah, the people there. That's the main thing.
do you have any kind of like heartwarming story from the community you'd like to share?
Oh,
Does anything come to
wow.
mind?
Well, one of the things, um, one of our residents drives Uber, and he had an accident and needed surgery. And members of the community, he didn't. I guess he didn't have enough insurance or whatever. But members of the community actually donated to help him, which is not something that you normally see. And I think that's a sign of the kind of community that we have there.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I know when I'm in the US, I miss the fruit in Latin America. I miss the mangoes. I miss the
Uh,
papayas. I think Honduras is like banana country, right?
Oh yeah, plantain chips.
Fried plantains. Did you
Yeah.
learn how to make fried plantains?
Uh, no, I don't cook. I'm not a cook.
It's pretty easy. Just vegetable oil in the pan with
Uh,
you cut up the plantain, throw it in there. Little circle size ones.
oh
Fry it
yeah,
up. Fry it up. I actually don't have the
delicious.
super good technique. I kind of rely on my girlfriend, but damn, I like fried plantains now.
Yeah, they're served a lot in Honduras, so yeah, uh,
Well, I
that's
can't
one of
wait
the.
to get down there and make the tour. Random question: have you ever had like RVers or overlanders come and camp out for a little bit?
We haven't. Um, yeah, everybody flies in, and we have an international airport like 40 minutes away from Ciudad Morazan. So um, everybody flies.
So yeah, because that's what I want to do is I want to at some point like RV the Americas or at least
Oh
make it
yeah,
from Mexico to Panama, and
yeah.
then I'll pop into Morazan on the way. I'll have the RV.
Oh
I'll
yeah,
kind of
that'd be great.
set up shop and hang out with you guys for a week or something. Because
Cool.
RVers are always looking for like RV campsites, right?
Uh huh.
Get some water, get some electricity.
Right.
So that's kind of what I would like to do. What's the airport again? What's the best way for people for the listener if they want to go check out Morazan? How do you recommend they fly in?
There's an international airport in San Pedro Sula, and
Mm.
from the U.S., it's very easy. There's direct flights from several airports in Florida and like Houston. Um, it's only 40 minutes from Morazan, and we've got drivers who we can recommend to pick you up for a very reasonable price.
Sure.
So yeah, that's the best way. It's
Okay,
it's
San
about
Pedro
40
Sula.
minutes or maybe, depending on traffic, 50. But yeah, it's a good airport.
Okay, cool. And I heard San Pedro Sula is actually not bad. They got some good malls. They got some good nightlife for the young guys listening to this. So people should go check it out.
Yep, San Pedro Sula. Yep.
Any Joyce, kind of take this time to share a final message with the audience. Again, remind them how they can get in touch with you, the book, all that good stuff as we
Hmm.
get to wrapping up.
Yeah, um, the model is, I think, the best hope for the future. Uh, that gives people a way to live their best lives. And for information about the model and what's happening around the world or in the US or in Morazan, of course, the morazanmodel.com will be the best place to get a hold of me or like leave a message for me or subscribe to learn what's going on. Um, so that's uh, it's exciting times ahead as free cities are growing and as the movement is growing, and we'll see better ways of governance being tried and proven.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I know we didn't get too much in the details in this episode about like the exact functionings of the Ciudad Morazan and what makes it unique. So people are going to have to go to the website. Link will be in the description. They can learn more about the model, and hopefully we can see more of these around the world so that we can give traditional cities a run for their money, and they got to get more competitive, right?
Right, absolutely. Competitive governance.
I like it. This has been another episode of the My Latin Life podcast. Again, our guest today, Joyce Brand, author of Pioneering Prosperity, the Morazan Model for Free Cities. You guys can find it on Amazon. Just type in Pioneering Prosperity or Joyce brand, and you guys will find it. But thank you to Joyce for joining us. Thank you to the audience for listening. Quick reminder, the podcast, it's on all major podcast players, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, X, all that good stuff. So please subscribe and support the podcast. We put out 2 episodes a week with amazing guests just like Joyce, and you won't want to miss an episode. And also go back and listen to the Alex Ugorji episode. And we also had a Prospera episode as well, and the Catawba episode as well. So we've had a bunch of Free City episodes that you guys can go listen to as well. Thanks again. Ciao for now.
Thank you.
Hey guys, quick note at the end of the episode here. If you made it this far, you might be interested in working with My Latin Life personally to make progress on your internationalization plan. So whether the next step for you is getting residency in Latin America, lowering your taxes, choosing the best country, maybe a little birth tourism, whatever the next step is for you, of course, My Latin Life can help. We've helped people in their 20s, their 40s, their 60s, because I truly believe that Latin America has something to offer people at every stage of life. So if you want to become our VIP client, if you want to work with Vance, myself directly, book a call. There will be a link in the description. There will be a small fee for the initial consultation, and we do that to filter out the time wasters and focus on the best of the best clients. But if you're listening to this podcast and you made it all the way through the episode, I know you're the best of the best. But we're ready to work with you. So book that call. Hope you enjoyed this episode of the My Latin Life podcast, and we'll catch you in the next one.